Hey everybody, welcome to Cheap Popcast Live, the unprofessional live show about professional wrestling. I am your host, Dave Demon Rudden. I've got one person on camera with me, one person to the side, but who's here with me?
I'm Henry Samoan Headbutts are the hardest headbutts Gilbert.
And on the Wheels of Steel this week,
Brett, the defeated demon, Elston.
Ooh, boy.
And Chris is out this week. He lost a loser Lee's Town match, but he'll be back soon enough. But this week we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to kick things off with NXT Takeover The End, ... of the beginning, which I had no idea what that ended up meaning, but it was a really good event. Like, not as far as, like, crazy happenings going, like, on not that big, maybe on, like, the lower half of the Takeovers spectrum, but, like, I just thought, like, from beginning to end, every match was entertaining.
Oh, no, it was a great card. I regret not being able to watch it live with you and Brett and all of our other bras. And Mike Grimm and Carolyn, too, everybody. I missed out on that, and I was sad about that, but it was still a really great show. I mean, it started, that Cien guy seems pretty cool.
Yeah, Adrian Cien Almas.
Though, honestly, I think Ty Dillinger's too good to be the Juice Robinson.
Yeah,
like he can't be the.
He was more popular than Cien.
He can't be the guy who jobs out to the new guy anymore. Like, they shouldn't have fired Bull Fit, man. They should have kept him around to do that stuff. And then the American Alpha Revival match was great. Though, I mean, it was fantastic, but I didn't think they would lose. I was so sad to see them lose, and then to have like the new Legion of Doom show up and beat them up. Though, what if Legion of Doom is Samoan? Yeah. I wonder, they should just be doing a story now, like the Samoans take over WWE.
I know they're not Samoan.
Oh, well, I thought they were related to Nia Jax because she was super excited about it.
Huh.
My bad.
Someone mentioned what they were, their ethnicity. I can't remember what it was.
But with Paul Ellering, like, I saw some people chanting, or heard some people chanting, "Who are you? Who are you?" Like, you fuckers don't know who Paul Ellering is?
So I don't know if, like, maybe it might just be the way that, like, NXT screens are. Like, can they even see who he is on? Like, is there a screen you can see who he's on?
Well,
who he is on? Like, to that extent, I mean, if I knew who he was, like, right when I saw him, and I felt like the coolest guy in the room. I'm like, guys, that's Paul Ellering. He used to manage the Legion of Doom, because I didn't know if, like, you or Grim knew who he was. I felt real cool about that, but. I mean,
Tranquil Bez thinks that American Alpha is going to get called up after that loss.
That's exactly what I thought.
Nope. No way. Well, I mean, I guess in the brand
draft?
split, they actually are probably needed. But if it wasn't for that, I would say no. Where's their space for them right now with New Day and Kaz and Enzo?
I mean, New Day's reign has to end eventually, and when that does, like, it'll probably be to some heel tag team that holds it for a month, and then American Alpha goes on their year-long tear.
And then Nakamura, Austin Aries is too short. I'm sorry, I hate to be a Vince McMahon about this, but like, I just couldn't take him seriously. He's too short. But sorry, we're talking about every match but the one that we're featuring in this segment.
Actually, real quick though, we can't do it because of the way 2K16 works. But I think my match tonight might have been Nia Asuka.
Yeah,
it was really good.
It was way better than Nia's
best match ever.
Than her Bayley match. But
like this was an excellent cage match. But I was surprised by the Nia.
I just love like. The amount of emotion in it. Like, I've never seen a person, like, scream, like, just yell at the other person right before they get knocked out.
I did love that.
And a defiant scream, and then also, just throwing Asuka across the ring. Like, that was great.
I love that she's a monster, but the story is she's a monster who hasn't put it all together yet. She's not a killer like, say, Vader was, but yet. And I also like that she's finding herself. I think she is a way better. Nia Jax is a way better performer than she was a year ago. Oh, yeah. And I think she's on her way to being like one of the most dominant women around eventually. She's just not there yet. Tranquil Bez was also asking, any of us watch the Breaking Ground special afterwards? I did not.
We did.
You guys did?
Yeah, we did.
It was really,
it was their WrestleMania
it's an emotional
weekend, right?
one. Yeah, so it's like half of it is, we're doing a NXT Texas takeover, and like that's a big show. And then like Triple H going up to all these people and saying like, you're getting called up. You're getting called up. You're getting called up.
Like a proud papa.
Yeah.
Well, so the main event, though, the end, and I think this was called the end of the beginning and the end for many reasons, but I do think it is the end of Finn, like as an NXT competitor. I think this was his farewell match. This is a crazy match. I think if anything puts a stamp on, or the period on the end of his sentence, it is that it is his first loss ever in demon form. He's never lost a match in demon form before.
I was surprised at it. I totally thought Samoa Joe was going to win, but you have a cage match so a guy can walk out the door and it could be okay, well, the demon has lost, but he's never been pinned yet. But they just went ahead and knocked that out too. I mean, it makes sense because they hate each other so much. They probably wouldn't want to win by doing the walkout or the climb over. But another thing I wanted out of that match that I didn't quite deliver. I thought we were gonna get the coup de grace off the top of the cage.
They were teasing it, but I was thinking,
even Joe's guts, I don't think could handle that.
Geometrically, it doesn't work. It's too high. It's too high on a low ceiling. I just think it's too much of a risk for him.
Yeah.
Him doing it off of the ladder in an arena, that's one thing, but in Full Sail, I just don't think it really worked.
He'd hit the roof and some.
It was also
insulation would fall on his head
because of the stipulation, which was weird for that. You can also run away and win. It was just if he gets to the top to do the coup de grace, he can also just coup de grace himself off the other direction and win.
Well, I wondered if they were going to do the story of one of my favorite cage matches in WWE history was the CM Punk Jeff Hardy one, where it was loser leaves Raw. If Hardy wins, he gets the title. If he loses, he leaves SmackDown. And when he could have jumped out, him being the live-in-the-moment character he'd rather try to do his swanton bomb off of the cage instead of jumping out. And everyone's like, you're crazy. So I wondered if Finn would try the crazier, more entertaining move and miss it and lose because of that, which is not what happened, though. And if any move should kill the demon who kicks out of everything, it should be a second rope muscle buster. That should be a once-in-a-year move that Samoa Joe does. It's mega killer move.
Didn't it already end Tyson Kidd's career?
Yeah, it's something they can't mention because it's too dark, and if this was 10 years ago, they would have totally said that's the move that ended Tyson Kidd's career, but now it's it's probably still a sensitive topic for them and with Samoa Joe. But Finn has ankle problems, says, a code.
So what are your personal picks? So, let's take the tag team match out of the equation, because for me that was the unequivocal match of the night. It was the best tag team match I've ever seen in NXT, which is high praise. But besides that, what would you say is your favorite match of the night? Finn Joe? Or?
Yeah, it was Finn Joe. Nia, I like the story told in Nia Asuka, but Nia's just not enough of a performer now. And I also I didn't like Nia more than the Nakamura match, even though Aries didn't bring out the best in Nakamura.
I really like the end of it. Just Aries doing all those submissions. I love his submission move. It's great. And it looks great on a big, tall-legged dude like Shinsuke. But at the end where he misses that, him landing right face first on that barricade outside, which is not like the barricade you see in this game. It's like a metal barricade, and then getting two knees to the face.
The way he flopped off it was great.
All that stuff was great.
And that was really good. And Takeover in much better pacing than most WWE pay-per-views, says Brandolph. Which Brad and I will be at one in just a week and a half. It'll be very exciting.
MITB.
Many in the bank, so Nakamura Aries. A lot of people saying they really like Nakamura Aries as well. Though JGB Sterling said it didn't do much for him, but it was mainly to me it seemed like to set up Naka for him to be the next challenger for Joe's title at NXT. But I think it set up Joe as the monster he should be. Joe should be booked like Brock Lesnar to me. I think he's that damn good and that scary. And as for Finn, I think this was a good final thing for Finn if it is. And I especially liked him him being the teasing Finn we know him to be, where he came out in black and white demon gear, the color of the Bullet Club. And
so before we move on to the next match, let's take a couple comments from the crowd here. So we got Thunderbird 2 saying, I hope we don't see the demon again until WrestleMania next year. Which is
honestly, I think I think it hurt the demon that it became an every takeover thing. It should be a extra special thing. If they're doing Takeover Japan, cool. If they're just doing a takeover at at the
Full
show
Sail.
at Full Sail, though his entrance was great. Like it took me back to that clip of Triple H taking him through know where the camera is. Cameras here, cameras here. That was so blocked out perfectly for the cameras. Like, I'm behind the cage. I'm rising from the cage.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely with that in mind, for sure.
Yeah. Cold Incision wishes they could see Finn Nakamura before he bounces, but I think they're saving that for a later date.
I think they'll both be on Raw within a few months.
I think Nakamura might be a little farther off from Raw. All right. But speaking of Raw.
Yes. Better than last week, just because last week's was
the worst.
It was we're facing the NBA Finals, so let's not try anything. Not really like a big storyline Raw, but just the fact that they had some good singles matches. Like my favorite, as you can see, is Cesaro versus Chris Jericho, which Chris Jericho's been part-time, but they still have rarely ever fought. So they have a good dynamic. Like they're both super veterans.
Oh yeah, they're both great,
and they're both they're the best they've been in years.
Now, so these singles matches weren't of much consequence. I will give you that, but
they're kind of like setting the
setting the
ladder.
Bank,
yeah, like the ladder. Yeah, who's the best, who's the worst, kind of that sort of ranking system.
And those 6 guys are all so good. The point is, all 6 of them could have a great match with anybody, with any of the other guys. And though the other 2 were like, well, Del Rio and Sammy felt fresh.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens is absolutely not fresh.
Yep.
But this was a fresh match and the best. And also, what I loved about it was that Cesaro won with the sharpshooter, which he should be doing more. Like, I think they've pretty much said Tyson Kidd is done. And so he should just inherit that move. He should be the only man who does it.
It works perfectly with his spin.
Yeah, the spin's great, but it always ends with
Yeah, and like a main event level wrestler should have both a submission finisher and a normal finisher. And like right now, both of his are great. Like the neutralizer looks awesome, and so does the sharpshooter. Because it works right with his signature. I'm talking in WWE 2K16 terms
so
right
Tanka
now.
says, is the worst Raw episode always genuinely the worst until the next worst episode?
I would say...
no.
I think last week's was the worst of this year. I mean, you probably go to 2010 or something to find worse Raws than this.
And Master of Loop says they watched the Hulu version of Raw, and they kept in the bit where John Cena said Bullet Club, accidentally. And but yeah, this match was. I mean, these 2 are such great competitors.
Yeah.
And Jericho's game for anything. And I especially like the feel of Jericho now. Is I think he's definitely internalized all the people saying that he sucks or that he came back as cool dad, and that now he's trying to show fine, I'll wrestle great matches with all your favorite guys, and I'll be a bad guy.
And he'll just be so pompous all the time.
Yeah.
I usually hate the first segment on Raw, whatever it is, because it's usually Shane or Stephanie or Triple H coming out and just saying well, here's what's going to happen tonight. We haven't figured out our main event, so it's going to be determined right now in this opening segment. But this week, they had everybody standing on top of a ladder, which is a great visual that you would never see. Very weird. Very weird, but also visually striking and different, so I liked it. And
it's very theatrical starts.
Kind of felt rightly, but I liked that Chris Jericho said, of course I've won a Money in the Bank match. I invented it. And then, Sammy calling him out on it. And being
never won, and he has never won.
I totally won one. I won it in Apple. Trying to just make up a city name and failing at it. That was great. And, this match was great. The rest of Raw was kind of iffy. I mean, the main event was the Club versus the New Day, but it was it was supposed to be 3-on-3.
It was the countdown until John Cena shows up.
Exactly.
That's what it is. But yeah, let's see. Vitamin Rob says, I'll watch Raw again if it ever goes to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Can't see the Hulu version in Canada as far as I can tell. So, I mean, 3 hours of Raw is way too much hours. And now I think they've even done it of what would have been the... in the Attitude Era, they would have had this is the overrun. We're ending this with this awesome thing that you can't stop watching, would have been AJ Styles turning on Cena. But in the last few weeks, they've been you know what? Nah, let's do it in the second hour. People aren't watching the third hour, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
He just did the move on the screen, and I am not liking how his code breaker has become a one knee thing. It's 2 knees. Both knees do the damage, but he only hits it with 1 knee. I'm not into that.
And also, a lot of people now are doing the lung blower, which is the code breaker, but on the back.
On the back,
and that looks way better because like when somebody gets hit with that, they almost always like explode off of the knees.
Yeah,
it just makes it look awesome.
And Thorny Your Gravy says, I still can't stand Jericho constantly yelling that everyone's stupid for his go-to insult. I love him saying stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Stupid idiot.
I also liked, it wasn't a very big segment, but the fact that at the Money in the Bank they're gonna have that 4-way tag match, that I thought they were just gonna throw away the Vaudevillains injuring Enzo, but they actually they incorporated it into they redid it in the match, except this time Enzo didn't get concussed.
Yeah.
But just keeping that angle fresh, and the end result was that Big Cass got so pissed that he just went into R strength mode and beat up the Vaudevillains until they got DQ'd. But I like that. I'm looking forward to that tag match. I still think that they're probably not going to take the belts off the New Day for a couple more months.
I don't know.
Just make them the longest reigning tag team champions.
I mean, they are it combined, but not in a single reign. Though it'll take them a long time to beat Kendrick and his Paul London. Almost said his boyfriend, but I did call them Team Twink back in the day. But anyway, yeah, I think New Day, I disagree with you, Dave. I think this 4-way is just the perfect excuse to take the belt off the New Day.
Yeah, they don't
That's how they won it in the first place, off primetime players, if you recall. So I think that's how they like to do, title changes like that off of good guys. Though also JGB Sterling asking if we had seen Chris Pratt get taught how to do a power bomb by Dave Bautista. I haven't watched that yet. It sounds awesome. He does it to Anna Faris.
Yeah. Also this week, John Hamm was on the Chris Gethard show and got beat up by Rhino and someone else, I forget.
Chris Gethard is secretly a pro, but not even so secretly. He is a wrestler.
Just John Hamm being in the ring with indie wrestlers, what the hell? Oh, Cole Cabana was the other one. So before we move on to the next section of our show, let's see some stuff from the comments.
Cold Incision is bringing up that it'll be July 16th is the date when they'll break the London and Kendrick record if they ever do. And that also Master of Lou says, funny hearing Jericho getting mad about people getting his hometown wrong a few pay-per-views ago. He was talking about how ashamed he is to be from Canada. Yeah, I love I'm so ashamed of Canada. He works so hard to get people in Canada to hate him when they really should not be hating him.
Yeah, and Worth Nintendo is pointing out that he's glad that the Vaudevillains aren't complete jobbers yet. Yeah, I think at this point we had already known that it's not going to work out for the Ascension. They're always going to be on Superstars and always lose on Superstars.
Yeah, but I mean you got to have somebody at the bottom. That's how you know where the bottom is, and they're getting paychecks, and unlike other people, they're not as good as Cody Rhodes to be worth quitting and getting a better thing.
And that was one of the sad things that I pointed out, at the end of that whole Breaking Ground thing. I'm like, wait, they also brought up the Vaudevillains that week. They didn't even mention it. Everyone else gets even Tyler Breeze is and Tyler Breeze is coming into his own, kinda, I guess.
Really.
He's teaming with Fandango now, which is
now he finally is,
and he's actually won some matches, so that's nice.
So Tranquil Bed says on Gethard's show, it wasn't just Rhino, it was also Colt Cabana and X-Pac were both there.
That's 3 generations of indies.
I know, and he had another great one where he had on Sami Zayn, and it was when Sami Zayn was injured, but he was still come on, man, you unironically love ska, and I love ska too. Let's skank, come on. And Sammy's like, all right, I just can't skank as hard as I would because I don't want to hurt my shoulder. I was, going back to NXT real quick, I was really sad to not see Hideo come back, and he's got to come back soon because they're doing fucking shows in Japan next month, and he's got to be back for Japan, right? I mean, they got enough Japanese talent to sell the tickets there, but, I mean, they sold the tickets. It sold out. They didn't need a Tommy for that, but... Bring him back for Japan, man. I do feel bad that we've been denied. They did have a few matches, but a real Finn Hideo, rivalry.
I think Hideo is going to stay in NXT whenever he does come back.
He needs more time. All right, but
so now we're moving on to Lucha Underground.
Speaking of guys who don't need more time in Japan, and a guy who's been spending a lot of time in Japan.
Yeah. So this was again. I had kind of had to fudge things. What you're going to see on the screen is a one-on-one match, but there was only one-on-one match, and it was a rematch. It was a kill shot against Marty the Moth Martinez, which, for one thing, who cares? But also, it ended in about 5 minutes and was a double count out. But yeah, the other 2 matches were the ones that like I really enjoyed. There was a nunchucks match, which was basically it's like
I watched NXT last night. I did not watch.
It was like basically a no disqualification match, but the only weapon you could use was nunchucks, and it was like working off the fact that PJ Black and Jack Evans they love their nunchucks. Yeah, they did a lot of nunchuck stuff backstage, and they faced Drago and Aerostar, and yeah, it was just like one of those things where. Like a lot of the mystical stuff you see backstage never translates to in the ring because like they'll have insane stuff
because they film things that are impossible. They film like horror movies where they do magic. You can't actually do that in the ring.
But yeah, in the case of this match, it was like okay, they get to do a little bit of crazy nunchuck stuff. Like they'll stand at the top of the stairs and just like point at the other team and then do like a crazy nunchuck move. It was it was cute, but it was also like this is great for all these teams, and you finally like PJ Black and Jack Evans getting their comeuppance for being dirtbags the entire season.
Right.
But yeah, the main event was a 6-on-6 match, and I have to look this up because I'm never gonna. I wouldn't remember all of them off the top of my head. Phoenix, Ivelisse, King Cuerno, Taya, Johnny Mundo, and was supposed to be Chavo Guerrero against Prince Puma, Tejano, Sexy Star, Son of Havoc, Rey Mysterio, and the Mac.
Wow.
But one of my favorite thing from the entire
everybody.
Yeah, my favorite thing from the entire episode of Lucha Underground is it's kind of comeuppance from 2 weeks ago when Chavo Guerrero proving that you can just put yourself in a Lucha Underground match by beating up the guy who's supposed to be in the match right before it happens.
Because the boss Dario Cueto will just say, "I like your moxie, kid. You do get this match."
So that's what happened. Like Chavo's standing in the aisle, like soaking up all the booze, and then. Pentagon Jr. rolls up in his wheelchair and says, like, I know we're friends, but I must take you out, and beats up Chavo Guerrero.
Jumps out of his wheelchair?
Yeah. And, so the match was, typical insanity from Lucha Underground, 6-on-6, so, like, everyone's bouncing everywhere. And, like, it eventually breaks down to, I guess it was the one thing that was weird is that, like, I guess, like, Pentagon's team is supposed to be the heel team, but like it had Ivelisse on it, so it was a weird.
I mean, Phoenix was on that side too. Like they mix up that stuff a lot.
Yeah, so it was weird to think like, who am I supposed to be rooting for? I mean, I want the team with Pentagon on it to win because he's the biggest badass. So that's what ended up happening. It was Johnny Mundo who got the pin, I believe, on Prince Puma.
Oh man, Puma. What's going on, man, with Puma? He's on the downswing. He'd been doing so good. Like he had been the Hulk Hogan of season 1, and now he's just been like having trouble, man, getting pinned, getting like can't seal the deal, kicking people in the balls and getting DQ'd. Like it's not looking good for old Puma these days. Though Ricochet looking pretty all right for Ricochet, but I mean I love Pentagon's back. I have not been liking him being off TV for weeks now,
and it's weird because like. Of course, the crowd went nuts for it, and like it was cool to see him. But then I thought, like, okay, how long has he really been out? Like in terms of tapings, it was probably like a day, and that's weird that like someone will be off TV for a month, but it was basically a day's worth of tapings. That's
true.
He just showed up the next night.
That's why you gotta just kind of let it go and be like, this isn't what television production is.
Yeah.
It's different, and Thorny Arabia has a great point. He thinks that Dario Cueto is a young Spanish Mr. Burns.
Who's the Smithers, though? Be the Lotus girl? Or?
I guess Black Lotus is the closest thing to a Smithers, yeah. Though Burns, man.
Her sexuality is ambiguous, so.
Is it? I guess.
She's not like, what's her face?
Most people don't have love storylines. I mean, there's.
She doesn't lick anybody's face, which is as ambiguous as you can get.
One of my favorite moments of this season of Lucha Underground was when she was about to lick Ivelisse's face and then was like, no, this audience would want it too much. Boo, I'm not doing it. And I was like, yeah, fuck what people wanted. Nothing involving Pentagon is bad, says 19 Minute Fire. Pentagon is he's the Stone Cold of their show. Like he is the greatest.
Yeah, and so the result of this match is that the 6-man team that won, 6-person team that won, gets they have a 6-man match like everyone 1-on-1 next week. I think it might be elimination, and the winner of that is the new number 1 contender for Matanza's title. And I mean, just those 6 facing each other is going to be pretty neat. Phoenix, Ivelisse, Taya, Johnny Mundo, King Cuerno, and Pentagon.
Cold Incision brings up, he thinks they're setting up for a Rey Puma thing at
the
Ultima Lucha. That would be a great match to make. I mean, Ultima Lucha 2 has been filmed, so some people can know it if they can already know what it is.
And like the commentary kind of hints at it. Well, not really hints at it, but every time that Rey Mysterio and Prince Puma are on the screen together, it's like, it's the past helping the future or whatever. Like, just things like that.
So Tank asks, who's Evilise? That's the entire nation from Final Fantasy Tactics, right?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it's the she's the strong-jawed, baddest bitch in Lucha Underground, and she is great. Like, she is great. I love her a lot. And but she, in other Lucha Underground news, at the same time the show was on, many Lucha Underground competitors competed in the CMLL big tournament, like this team tournament thing. And the main event was technically Team CMLL versus Team Lucha Underground, but it was really just like the CMLL guys who were on Lucha Underground facing the Team Lucha Underground guys, which were led by Dario Cueto. And they won! Lucha Underground won the whole thing. It was crazy.
All right,
and,
so we have one more match to go through on this. But before that, let's dive into comments for a little bit.
Some people were mentioning we weren't talking about TNA, which they are going to have their lockdown soon.
And they had Did we? I don't know if we talked about it last week, but I finally watched the entirety of it. Like Matthew from Botchamania edited together this entire thing that was insane. But yeah, like that seems like it should be on Lucha Underground.
Red Nuke Warrior. It's not gonna be Cesaro much as I'd like it. It's gonna be Kevin Owens.
Oh, he's asking who you think's
gonna win MITB. Yeah, I say Kevin Owens at this juncture. But yeah, that clip was funny. That clip was funny. But more so, I'm interested in what's going on in New Japan right now. They just finished Battle of the Super Juniors. Will Ospreay looking like the king of the fucking world there. And now at Dominion, they're going to have not the first ever, but the first in forever ladder match in New Japan history, though, because Tanahashi is injured. He's going to be facing Unbreakable Michael Elgin and Kenny Omega. Going to be so damn good. But here...
we have to talk about it, so I figured why not put it in the game. Brock Lesnar, what was it, on Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday night.
They, like at UFC, was that 199?
199.
Yeah, so they announced for UFC 200. UFC 200 will be Brock Lesnar, and then on Monday they announced he'll be facing Mark Hunt, who has been out of UFC for a little while too. But yeah, they'll be fighting at 200. Brock it's a one-night only return. WWE was cool with it. But
very crazy. He fought at 100 and now he's fighting at 200. And I think it's a big risk for old Brock. I think it is, he's got all this machismo, if he hasn't lost since he beat The Undertaker, and if his first loss is to Mark Hunt, who is, I found out, a big bruiser. Like, he's not famous though, and it's not a name they can.
He's like he was a title contender at some point. Yeah, he was close. He never won the title, but like
the heavyweight division in UFC is so all over the place.
Yeah.
Like it's one of their most weirdest divisions where any of the top 6 guys could always be heavyweight champion. There's no definitive dude in charge there.
Yeah, but I mean, apparently Brock he's been training for this ever since WrestleMania, which, I was starting to get a little bit confused. Like, why haven't they done anything with Brock?
Not one thing since that match.
Not mentioning him, not bringing Paul Heyman out.
Well, it also makes you wonder why if his WrestleMania match was worse than it could have been, because he was like, be careful, be careful with me,
or just concentrating on other things.
Yeah,
but that match was underwhelming, and I don't know. I don't think it'll be that bad for him, even if he does lose, because he came into WWE on a 2 or 3 fight losing streak. Like, his last one was to Alistair Overeem, where he got punched in the guts and died King Hippo style.
Because he had no guts left.
Yeah.
Diverticulitis.
Yes.
Had incapacitated him.
Which I think I read he got by eating too much meat. Because he lives on a farm and probably just eats beef all day.
He's a fucking caveman, man. Yeah. He said it himself. Though that was when he said he wasn't going to come back to UFC. He's like, I'm a caveman, but I'm a slightly older caveman now. It's not worth it. And it is a health concern. Like, no matter what, he's not facing a tin can either, but no matter who you face, it's a risk of injury. The other guy's trying to hurt you. That's what CM Punk has been having so much trouble with, that he was trained in a physical activity, but one that teaches you to not actually hurt the other guy. And now he's getting into a thing where, like, the other guy's working real hard to hurt you. Stop trusting them not to. And Brock in his time in UFC was a guy who, he was not an ultimate striker. Like, he'd win. I think he won some matches with KOs, but he's more of a ground and pound master. Yeah. But if he tries to stand and strike, if he takes some fucking standing strikes from Mark Hunt, like, he's done.
Yeah, I don't think that's what. I think he will just try to, like.
And if he gets concussed, like, can he even compete at SummerSlam?
I think regardless, he's not going to be competing at SummerSlam. I don't even think they said he will be. Like,
he'll be at
SummerSlam. So he'll come out. He'll, depending on how much he gets beat up, he'll probably suplex somebody or just like clothesline somebody or just show up and say like, or just set up his next thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a big risk on their part, though. If Mark Hunt beats Brock, then bring Mark Hunt into WWE, man, and sign him up for a couple matches. And obviously, people are hoping this means that Ronda Rousey will be allowed to compete at WrestleMania next year as kind of a trade for this.
Yeah, there was someone else that they were mentioning instead of like
the one that's on Dancing with the Stars. Somebody,
Paige Van Zandt, I believe her name is.
Yeah, the Meltzer thinks that's because she's prettier, and that Vince prefers because Ronda Rousey is so unattractive. Mm-hmm. I hate that, but. Brock in UFC is like real life DLC, says Brendolph. I like that.
Like Stacey D Pro at UFC 300, Brock Lesnar against Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, with the Dragon Sword in his corner. And
Paige Van Zandt, that's what people are saying.
And someone brought up, like, will Paul Heyman be in UFC in any capacity? I hope so, but I don't think they will.
I think he would be in. I'd hope he's in his entourage. I mean, he did the exclusive another exclusive interview about it, and him saying that, like, oh yeah, I did this. I did a. He said he arm wrestled Vince McMahon for the right to do it, which at first I was like, haha, real funny. I'm like, that could be true. I would not put that against them, but. The UFC was fun, though. Now, guys in their 40s fighting has been kind of marred for me after with the passing of Kevin Ferguson, a.k.a. Kimbo Slice, who was more of a freak show than a fighter, and really, like, that last fight he had shouldn't have happened. Yeah. Like, absolutely shouldn't have happened. And it makes you worry, like, Ken Shamrock is fighting in close to 50. He really shouldn't be doing that, especially with, like, his body just makes you go like, dude, that's not the. I don't care how much exercise you do as a 50-year-old man and how extremely fit you are, Ken Shamrock. Yeah. That's not the body you should have.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as long as Brock is able to wear Jimmy Johns on his shorts at UFC, I'll be good.
That's illegal.
I think it is.
It's not. Well, Awkward Loser has a rejoinder for us, though, with all our Brock praise. You guys know Brock was never that good, right? He fought mostly cans and a dinosaur in Randy Couture, who, along with Brock, Chael Sonnen, and BJ Penn, are the Mount Rushmore of overrated MMA artists.
Yeah.
Oof! Ouch!
It was the era too, like, it almost still is, where like the heavyweight title changes almost every defense. Like, there's rarely a champion that holds it for a long time.
So Awkward Loser, I gotta say, as a fan of the era when those guys were at the top, I hate Chael Sonnen. That guy sucks, but. Randy Couture was the real deal. He was really a light heavyweight who was defending the heavyweight and was better than everybody in his time there. He was amazing. Now Brock, he has kind of an uneven record, but when he was good, he was damn good.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like, they always said, like Brock was never at 100% when he was in UFC before. He had like diverticulitis, and like now that he's fully healthy.
Well, though I saw people pointing out that when he wrestles a fake fight for 15 minutes, he is purple and breathing super heavy and sweating everywhere. Makes you doubt his conditioning. I don't know.
I mean, those matches involve him like moving way more around than he would in a UFC fight. So it's balances and all that. So I mean, we'll see, and we will talk more about that in the coming weeks, but that will be it for this episode of Cheap Popcast Live. I want to thank everybody for their top-notch comments and questions.
Oh, yeah, and I do agree with you, knife to my feet, knife to meet you. I do agree with you that Dean Ambrose is kind of almost on the Dolph Ziggler track now of being slowly seen to be unimportant, even though he could be the best.
Doing at,
he's Money in the Bank, man.
Money in the Bank yet. But anyway, that'll do it for this week. Thanks for everybody for being here. We'll see you next week with more wrestling chatter.
Bye.
Bye.